Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be discussing the M17 series of gas masks. First, let's get off to the let's start off with the M17 itself, So, the US needed a mask to replace the previous M9 or M9A1 series of respirators, which they considered obsolete. They had a 60mm NATO thread with a large canister that would be mounted around here. The issue is that it could get caught on stuff, and it broke the seal because the filter would droop and take the face piece with it. So much so that they needed straps to hold it up. I think they were mounted on either the head straps or the helmet that you would have been wearing, which at the time was the M1 helmet. So the US first developed, I believe, the E13 series of prototypes. I'm not that familiar with the prototypes. But anyway, which eventually turned into the ABC M17. I don't actually have an ABC M17. This is an M17A1 dated 1969. And the design of this mask is compact compared to the M9. It has two cheek filter pouches, which the cheek filters slide into. You have to manually install them, which can be a pain, but they were issued with the filters pre-installed. Next, we have the carrier. This one was issued with M17A2s. I do have the M17A1 bag right here. Mask protective field M17A1, size medium, RBR. Not sure what that stands for. This one's a size medium, and how the filters were held in place. These are the black ringed M13 filters. You'd have your M13 series of filters in here with one of these inlet valve caps. And then you would button it in, push that in, and then you would snap it off like that. Sometimes they take a lot to take off, other times they don't. So one thing about the filter elements is not all of them are equal. The green and white, I believe, ringed filters were designated for all agents, including riot control agents and all chemical agents at the time. And originally, I think the black filters were some of the first. Now, as time went on, these were originally designed for chemical agents, but these were designated for riot agents when a new series of filters came out. I believe these are the original M13s, might be the M13A1s, I'm not sure. Now, let's get off to some of the features of the mask. The eyepieces. Nothing really much to say about them, but these ones have yellowed from age. And now we have the C8R1 head harness. It's decent, but as you can see, the elastic on mine isn't doing so well. Alright, I'll show you the inside of the mask, but I will be ordering replacement straps soon. Might just be another C8R1 head harness or an M50 skull cap, probably just some C8R1 head harness straps. Here's the inside of the mask. Here's your cheek filter pouches with these little buttons that would secure the pouches in place so they didn't open up back again. You have your drinking tube. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, this lever, if you push it like that, pushes the drinking tube into your mouth, which is one thing I like. Here is the resuscitation mouthpiece to the resuscitation tube, which is ultimately removed because it failed. It was defective, so it would fail and leak chemical agents into the mask, killing the wearer and the person that you were trying to resuscitate. You have a chin seal down here, which breaks the seal sometimes for me, but I think it's because this mask is kind of big for me. You have your oral nasal cup with some valves here that would open up and flow air onto the lenses. Here, in the eye lenses, you can install like optical inserts for glasses and stuff, and I think laser outserts. I think brown laser outserts. So let's fold that back over. There we go. Let's talk about the lenses. The only lenses I have here are the normal sort of lenses that added a bit more protection or secured the mask to the M6 chemical hood, which I have right here. And there were green laser outserts and tinted outserts. The only ones I have that are tinted are for the M40. But anyways, here is the valve cover. If you wanted to remove it, and let's say the exo valve was stuck, you would pull up and it would take the cover off and you could fix it and pull it back down. This is the drinking tube, the M1 US Quick Disc Connect NVC canteen system, which would allow you to drink into a contaminated environment. Alright, more about the filter system. Let's put one of these caps back on. It takes a little bit of force to get it back into place. So this would act as like a basic particulate filter that went over the regular cheek filter so it didn't clog up that much. Before we get started on the filter system, there was, I believe it's called the M4 winterization kit. It was basically like these two fabric pieces that would go over both of the inlet valves that led to the filters to prevent frost from accumulating in the filter and ruining it. Alright, now, many people think cheek filters are a bad idea because you can't change them in combat, and I'm just going to present a few points on why I don't think it was the worst idea for its time, but it definitely wasn't the best. I think it was actually, for the time period, a pretty good idea because their previous masks before the M9 were using fixed canisters with hoses, kind of like the M17. You'd have to hand it over to a specialist who would take the filter off, but with these, anyone can do it. It might be a little hard, but still. You can't catch them on stuff. It was stated in the manual these could last up to 24 hours in a fully contaminated environment. And I'm not sure how true that is. I'm not sure they'd have much incentive to lie about it. But anyways, moving on to the cons of it. You can't change them that easily, and let's talk about another argument people use against cheek filters. You can't change them in a contaminated environment. Let me explain why you wouldn't want to do that with any mask. First of all, when pushing the canister back in and screwing it in, if you managed to do that without dropping the filter, threading it in improperly, like you are introducing a small amount of gas or whatever's in the air into the mask. Depending on the chemical agent, it might be enough to incapacitate you or ultimately render you a casualty of war. Now, if it's something like chlorine, it won't matter, but I don't think chlorine would be used on a massive scale if we're talking about against a country like North Korea or Russia. Probably something like VX or nerve gas or any other nerve agent which would kill you. Now, for the US's doctrine, they had to have gear swaps and echelons where you would take off your mask, decontaminate it, you'd be replaced by reserve men without compromised masks or filters, and you would ultimately have new filters, everything would be decontaminated and fine. But you know what can go wrong will go wrong, and I wouldn't just try to assume that it's going to go well. But luckily, we never had any serious large-scale uses of gas against each other since World War I. I believe the only place it was used in World War II was Japanese against the Chinese. But anyway, let's get these caps back in place. Let's talk about another accessory. The M6 chemical hood, which is right here. It would go over the mask. As you can see, this is where the inlet valves would go. The eyepieces, valve assembly, the other inlet valve. And you'd place it over an NBC suit, whether it be for bugs that might bite you or chemical agents that you didn't want touching your skin. Now, I will show you what's underneath the valve cover. This is the exhale valve. I was trying to put it back over. Now, I believe these masks stayed in service until the M45 Land Warrior, which had an extra small size. These only stayed for people with extra small heads that couldn't fit the M40 series. I mean, the M40 or M42. Now let's get on to the series. First came the ABC M17, then the M17A1, then M17A2. With a lot of the A1s, they were converted into M17A2s by removing the resuscitation mouthpiece. Mine still has it in. Mine is dated 1969, if you can see that. Yep. and these were famously used in Vietnam and Desert Storm until I'd say mid-90s. They were replaced by the M40, maybe earlier than that. The Air Force and Navy replaced these in the mid-80s with the MCU-2, MCU-2A and the MCU-2P, which are basically like the M40, but a panoramic mask. Kind of looks all futuristic, like a spaceman's helmet, an astronaut helmet. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the M17's clones. Here I have with me the Czech OM10, or the M10, whichever you choose to say. I've heard that the Czechs copied the M17 off of literal pictures. I'm not sure how true that is, but it's pretty good for what it is. And the screw-on caps, I do like the design more than the M17's clip-on ones, just because they go on and off easier. As you can see, there it just screws right in. Now, the Czechs weren't the only one to copy this. They also had another one, the M10M, which had a drinking tube on it, the US quick disc style connector. The Polish had the MP4 and MP4B. The Bulgarians had the PDE one, which is by far the worst clone, just because of the quality. The Japanese had the Type 3, I believe, although not many of those are known to have existed or are even still around. I'm not even sure if there's even one still around. But anyway, that wraps up the video, so goodbye, like, subscribe for more, and see you in the next video.